Hi everyone, my name is Awab Gahwat and I go to the American Cooperative School of Tunis. My question is, why is Assia Djebar an important literary figure? So before I start, I'm going to promise I'm not an expert, but I promise that I try to learn as much as I could to satisfy my curiosity about this topic. Someone here might know more than me, so please correct me, ask questions, and contribute, but do it not nicely. I am not trying to persuade you of my agenda or convince you to take action. My only hope is that my presentation might cultivate your own curiosity. So this is my outline. So first I'm going to talk about French colonialism in Algeria, then who Assia Djebar is, and then why did Djebar write in France, and how did Djebar defend women's rights. What led me to this? So I've always been interested in the North Africa region. So what I did was I searched for post-colonial literature, and I found that most of them were by men. So I specifically searched for women who wrote after colonialism. I found a lot of authors like Suad Gueiluz, Leila Abu Zaid, but I ended up going into more depth on Assia Djebar from Algeria. Okay, so French colonialism. This is a painting by it's a French painter, Horace Vernet, of the capture of Constantine, which is a city in Algeria. Algeria was conquered by France in 1830, and Algeria was actually made a formal part of France. It was conquered for 132 years, and it gained its independence on 1962. So, despite being a formal part of France, Algerians didn't get the citizenship, only the Pieds Noirs did. The Pieds Noirs are the descendants of French and European settlers. So the French colonialism was detrimental to the Algerians. It confiscated their land and it allowed the Europeans to exploit their wealth. Also, the French, what they tried to do is they tried to assimilate Algerians into French culture because they believed it was superior. So they tried to do that through religion and education. So who is Assia Djebar? So Assia Djebar is Algerian, and she's from Cerso, which is this picture of a fountain in her hometown, Cerso. Her actual name is she was born in 1936, and she died in 2015. Her actual name is not Assia Djebar. Her name is Fatma Zohra Mlayen. So the reason she changed her name, she didn't change her name, but she changed her pen name. So she writes with Assia Djebar, is because some of her novels contain, it contains very inappropriate themes for traditional Algerian society. So she changed her name out of respect for her father. So she published 17 books, and she's the first North African in the Académie Française. She studied in France, and she writes in French. And also, it's important to note that she trained as a historian. So, she did an history project in the mid-70s where she interviewed women who took part of the independence struggle from her native region. So this is the picture of the Académie Française. So this is a huge thing, being part of the Académie Française, because the Académie Française regulates French, and it makes sure that the language is protected and doesn't change. Okay. So writing in French. Assia Djebar, she writes in French, but she's still, her native language is Arabic, but her native language is not like formal Arabic, it's vernacular Arabic. So she has said several times, for example, in this uh, meeting, she said that she doesn't have to apologize for writing in French, because in other centuries she would have written in other languages like Persian or Turkish. She also, so in her writing, despite writing in French, she always uses Arabic and Berber words. And she says that this is because despite being a Francophone, expressions of love and some, like, she said that Arabic is a more expressive language, so she needs to, there's no better way than using Arabic for the purpose of expressing some of her ideas. So this is the Algerian Quartet. So this is one of her major works. So this is a quartet because it's autobiographical. So this is a project of her. There's supposed to be 4, but she died in 2015, and these were the only 3 she was able to do. So all of these 3, they're autobiographical, but they're not entirely nonfiction. They incorporate legends, they incorporate women, other women, but she speaks in their name. So she juxtaposes the autobiography with Algerian history. And that Algerian history, she gets it from French documents and oral history. And also, what she tries to do is give voice to the sœurs disparues. So the sœurs disparues are the disappeared sisters. They're women in Algerian history who don't have a voice, who haven't been written about. So the first is L'amour, la fantasia. So in this book, Assia Djebar takes personal memories from her childhood. For example, she talked about when she was a child, the first day her father takes her to school, and how that set her on her journey to become a writer. And then what she does is she takes memories of other women. For example, so she takes a event called the Infomad. So the Infomad is when the French did this to the Algerians. What they did was they burned caves and they smothered people with smoke. So they died of smoke inhalation. So this is a painting by Tony Zohana. So the story behind this is she found that in 1845, a military officer set fire to caves near her hometown, Surso, and which resulted in 1,500 people being killed. And this military officer, what he did was he carried a body count and ordered his men to extract. So he ordered his men to extract all the corpses, and he counted each one of them. The next book is Ombre Sultane. So here, instead of using history, she uses myth. She used the 1001 Nights, or the Arabian Nights. And what she does is she compares the relationship between Dinarzadeh and Sahrazadeh in the Arabian Nights. So in Arabian Nights, what happens is Sahrazad, she is captured by a misogynistic king who kills her, but instead what happens is Dinarzadeh tells Sahrazadeh stories so that she can stay alive by each night telling a story to the king. So what Assia Djebar does is she compares that relationship with Asma and Hazila relationship. So these 2 women have very contrasted personalities. For example, Asma is educated while Hazila is not educated. So what happens is Asma, she's stuck with her husband who doesn't treat her good. What she does is she marries him off to Hajila so that she then gets divorced. And then she goes away to France, and so she just goes away from her husband. But so at the end, she realizes what she had done to Hazila is bad. So Hazila, she revolts, and Asma gives her apartment in Algeria. Okay. So the next one is Vaste et la Présent. So this one is a prologue to Ombre Sultane. So it happened after Ombre Sultane in the 1980s. So in the 1980s, there was there were bloody riots, specifically 1988. There was fundamentalist violence. So the way this functions is there's several parts, and each part talks about a different woman, one of which is Asma's story. So in the part with the Asma story, what happens is her daughter is offered a job in her father's city, and her mother tells her not to go. And this is because she doesn't want her to end up like her. And here we can see an example of how she uses the Arabic language, because in her father's city, they call husband l'adu, which means the enemy in Arabic. And then there's Yasmina in another part. So Yasmina is a policewoman. Things get too violent for her, so she becomes a fugitive. And what she does is she gets caught, and she doesn't resist, so that the other woman can escape. This is a picture of a Berber legend called Tin Hinan. So this is used in Vaste et le Présent. So this legend, she's a person who she fled from a place called Tefalet to Hogar with her archaic alphabet. So Assia Djebar compares this legend to a lady called Zureida, which is whose story is told in another part of the book. And this lady, she escapes her hometown because she's stripped out of her inheritance by the fundamentalists, and she has to escape. So violence against women is present in all of Assia Djebar's novels. So in the beginning, she uses violence against women it's done by the conqueror, the French. But in the quartet, she makes it that it's not only by the women don't face violence only by the conqueror, but also by the Algerians themselves. The novel on the left, woman in their apartment in Algiers. So in this book, a Algerian doctor has so the book is a collection of short stories, and in the first short story, an Algerian doctor has repeating nightmares of his wife getting beaten by French soldiers. And then in Vaste et la Présent and Ombre Sultane, you have many examples of domestic abuse. For example, Hazila in Ombre Sultane, who is the lady that Asma married her husband to. She is beaten for leaving her apartment, and she is threatened. Her husband threatens her to remove her eyes. He threatens to blind her. So the reason so here he shows Hazila leaves her apartment as an act of defiance, and her husband punishes her for it. And in Vaste et la Présent, Islamic fundamentalists murder women, and they declare that defying women is a crime. So any woman who they think is being an infidel, they kill her. So big idea. The reason why Assia Djebar is an important literary figure is because he gives voice to a woman and to all women in her collective autobiographies. She represents not only women from her background. She represents not only educated women, but all women in Algerian society, because she had a special upbringing where her father taught her French, which not all Algerian women had. So she tried to represent women who didn't have the same experience. And the women in her novels, they support each other and they join forces so it shows the importance of sisterhood. And it talks about several problems that women face in Algerian society. For example, violence and then illiteracy. So these are the references I used. And thank you.